Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. When I first started this, I wanted the video to be very upbeat and happy, but honestly, it doesn't feel right for this type of video because of the type of book that I'm going to be talking about. But with that being said, if you're looking for your next great read, then you're in the right place. Today I will be discussing a book with a very interesting story, The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I also want to note that there will be spoilers, so if you wanted to read any of these books, I suggest you skip this video. The Teacher. This book follows Eve Bennett, a math teacher at Kasem High, Nate Bennett, the beloved English teacher, and he's also the teacher that runs the Poetry Club. Addison Severson is a junior at the high school who has had a lot of trouble leading up to this point, and she doesn't stop there. Hudson is her used-to-be best friend, and then there's Kenzie, his not-so-much girlfriend. Now, Eve and Nate have I don't really know how I should say it, a tenuous relationship. Nate is very planned-oriented, perfect, he's handsome. He's also the nicest teacher, according to the students in the book, and yet he's married to this venomous woman who probably reminds you of the teachers who would make their exams hard for no reason. Someone who has a permanent frown on their face and just looks genuinely unhappy. So honestly, how are they together? I would get to that. The book starts off with a prologue of a girl burying someone. We aren't sure who it is yet, but we do know she's burying another woman. Thinking back, I remember trying to decide if it was Eve, Addie, or even Kenzie, but I was completely wrong, because none of them are the ones who die in the end. So Eve and Nate, like I said, has a rocky relationship. One thing that I really remember is that Eve loves shoes. Like a complete hoarder for them. There was one part in the book when she tries to shoplift some shoes, but by the grace of God, when she goes towards the doors, what sets the alarms off is a tag thingy that the cashier forgot to take off and the previous customer before her. So yeah, she started to move down my list because of that. Because I understand she didn't want Nate to see her purchase any more shoes, which is something they argue about often. But stealing shoes almost like she couldn't control herself was wrong. But don't worry, she gets much worse. And then Nate. There was something in the back of my brain that I didn't like about him. I didn't really know what it was, but I knew he had something to do with whoever was being murdered in the end, so I already didn't like him. And then there is Addie. She respectfully needs to be in the psych ward or something. The things that this girl does throughout the book are sad and terrifying. We are told in the beginning that she has something to do with the firing of a teacher named Art. He was also a very beloved teacher there. Apparently he was fired because of an alleged inappropriate relationship with Addie, which wasn't true. Addie was found sneaking around his home one night, and when she was caught, all these allegations came out, and he was fired. He of course denied it all, and Addie, she didn't say he did anything, but she also didn't say he didn't do anything. Basically, the girl said nothing. So she is kind of a cast-off at the school. No one wants to be around her because no one believes her, for good reason, obviously. And one of those people who want to do nothing with her is her friend Hudson. But it's not because of the situation with Art. It's because he helped her murder her dad and cover it up. So, I know it's a lot, but right now they aren't really talking to each other for a good amount of this book. And I just remember, I think the reason she was obsessed with Art was because he sympathized with her, and after losing her dad, He paid attention to her, he helped her with her schoolwork, and it didn't really get him a good reputation. And to me, it's really sad. But the fun doesn't end there. Nate ends up convincing Addie to start coming to the poetry club. And from there is when their inappropriate relationship starts. And honestly, these chapters were hard to read. Nate, of course, wasn't at all perfect like it was almost made out to be. Turns out he's disgusting and manipulative, and he had done it before. Kenzie, the girl I mentioned, had a thing with Hudson, the friend. She was also in an inappropriate relationship with him. And then, there is also the fact that he manipulated his wife, Eve. So that's why they are together. He had been the TA, I think, when they met. The point is, all three of these girls were manipulated by him to be in a relationship. And what is so dumb about this man is that he would write these women poems, the exact same poems, which is completely dumb. And that's one of the ways that Kenzie found out that he was in a relationship with Addie, is because she saw the poem. Okay, so I feel like we need a brain break. My French teacher does this when we learn something new and a little challenging in class. They're like a couple minutes long, and we can talk to our friends and look at our phones. So let's just, a few moments of quiet. Okay, break over. Eve Bennett, What a Mess 2. Whoever said opposites attract, I feel like they were just talking because both Nate and Eve deserve to be held together. So Eve is having an affair with a man named Jay. This man works in a shoe store. I know she gets her shoes and a man. Look, I'm going to just say it's because I don't know how to bridge into this. Jay and Hudson are the same person. The boy she's having an affair with in a closet is a student at her school. And the reason why I just had to flat out say it is because I'm so confused. Like in the book, Eve helps Addie and Kenzie come forward to the police for what Nate does. But when we find out she's doing the same thing, it doesn't quite make sense to me. And also, Jay or Hudson, it's implied that he has a wife and a kid. But from my quick look on Google Reads, thank you, we all conclude that it was his mom messaging him all the time and his brother that was being heard in the background crying. It's just that we, the readers, assume it's his wife and the kids. But I also read that the author, McFadden, she said that Eve did know that he was a student. So I guess my question is just that, what's with the double standards, Eve? Like, why do you think, like, who do you think you are, honestly? Because I've been holding out by saying this for as long as possible, but Eve and Jay/Hudson killed Nate. Okay? In the prologue, it is Addie who is burying a not-so-dead Eve. And I know I forgot to say this, but there was a run-in where Addie broke into Nate and Eve's house to stop her from going to the police or whatever about their relationship. And during that, Addie hits her with a pan, I think, and they think she's dead. But hold on. When Addie goes to get supplies to deal with the unconscious Eve, Eve starts to wake up. But you know who doesn't like that? Do you know who it is? It rhymes with mate. So he decides to strangle her, which also doesn't kill her because clearly Eve knows how to live up to her name. So Addie and Nate bury her alive, and that's where the prologue starts. But what we find out is that Nate leaves Addie there at the place they are burying her. At first I thought he was really dumb about that, like he is dumb. But he had a plan to blame it all on Addie once Eve's body was found, which it never was because she didn't die. I feel like I should put another break in here. Okay, once Eve climbs out of the grave, she spends that time that Nate and Addie don't know she's alive to torment Nate. She sends messages that only he would know about, and quite honestly, it's the best part of the book to me. It's really fun to read, to see him get all worked up and feel like he's going insane about this. That's the best part of it. But it all comes to a conclusion when, back where he buried her alive, she goes and buries him alive, and it is the most deranged thing I've read all year. It's just that he was alive and begging her to stop, and all I can think of was, why couldn't she just go to the police and put him in jail? Like, Addie and Kenzie both came forward to the police. Like, during the entire time this was happening, they were in there talking to the police. Like, when he wouldn't have gotten away with it. But now he's dead, and everyone else thinks he is somewhere on the run. Like, honestly, I prefer him to be in jail. I don't think this book was bad. It was something I've never read before, and it was interesting to say the least. And I know I spoiled it, but if you still want to read it and get your own opinion, you definitely should. I will say that I will be reading another one of McFadden books. So with that being said, have an amazing morning, evening, or night, readers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!